You claim it's about inclusion, but really you're excluding women. You're pushing us out of our own spaces, because why would we want to be in a locker room where there could be a naked man? In my last video, I covered a case involving the Ohio Xena, I still don't know how to say that, I'm sorry, the YMCA there, where a 31-year-old trans-identified male had exposed himself on 3 different occasions to women and young girls. Now, because of their policy, this is actually not an isolated incident, unfortunately. And there have been several cases in the last few years of trans-identified males using facilities that are affiliated with YMCA and exposing themselves. In August of 2022, Redux had actually reported on an incident occurring in Washington in July of 2022, where Julie Jamin, an 80-year-old woman, was actually banned from a local pool that is ran by a YMCA. According to Jamin, she had witnessed a male who was wearing a women's bathing suit in the women's locker room who was watching a group of young girls get changed after visiting the pool. Jamin confronted this man and asked him to leave the area, and then at the same time, there was a manager of the pool going through that area. So Jamin brought it up to her, and then the manager started berating Jamin and calling her discriminatory. Now, the manager actually banned Jamin from the pool, called the police, and then employees tried to stop Jamin from leaving the area. And the manager claimed Jamin wasn't following the values and principles of the YMCA, which is just really weird to me, because it's like this person doesn't have to follow your values and principles of the place you work at, since, you know, they don't work there. In January of this year, there was yet another case, this time in California, involving a 17-year-old girl complaining about seeing a naked 66-year-old male in a YMCA locker room. She stated she was terrified upon seeing the male in the women's locker room and hid in the shower until he left the area. And upon reporting the incident to staff, they informed her that due to the YMCA's policies on gender identity, males have a right to use the women's locker room. The male in this case goes by the name of Christine Lily Wren Wood, and he had previously sued Crunch Fitness Gym in El Cajon, California, for denying him access to the women's changing areas, and he actually won that lawsuit. So, great job, California. Redux did some digging on this person and reported that Wood had been sharing images of very young girls on his social media that he seemed to be comparing himself to, adding captions like, "Christine is a baby," "Christine is a little girl." Wood also claimed he would be able to get pregnant. So these are 3 separate males who are claiming that they're trans women, who are then going into women's private areas, changing rooms, locker rooms, you know, that kind of thing, and exposing themselves or watching these girls undress. And I think it's much more nefarious that all of these cases involve young girls, kids, teenagers. And like, it's bad enough to be exposing women to this. It's like a notch up to be involving minors in your nefarious intentions, in my opinion. The women complaining in these instances have all been met with hostility and accusations of being hateful or discriminatory, when in reality, these women and girls did not feel safe. They were complaining because they felt like there's a naked man in here, and I'm also expected to change in here. So there's that double layer of okay, I don't want to see him, and I don't want him to see me. But now I'm being forced to share this area with this person, when it's supposed to be female only. Sex-segregated bathrooms were actually first introduced by law in the US in the 1800s. And now all of a sudden we are expected to share our private spaces with males based on their self-reported gender identity status. And my question is, why do the rights of trans-identified males supersede women's rights to safety and security in spaces like bathrooms and locker rooms? Why is it inclusion at a cost? You claim it's about inclusion, but really you're excluding women. You're pushing us out of our own spaces, because why would we want to be in a locker room where there could be a naked man? It just seems to be a growing problem, and it's going to keep happening the more that people allow it and the more that people side with males like this, you know? And, I find it particularly alarming that some of these men have very, in my opinion, clear predatory behavior. And that's just not acknowledged at all by trans activists. They just go with the mantra of, that's not happening. It's not just bathrooms and locker rooms. It's also female prisons. males are being put in with female populations because they say that they're women. And a lot of those males are violent offenders or, predators in and of themselves and have been charged with those types of crimes. Meanwhile, most female prisoners are non-violent offenders. So you're basically putting the wolf in with the lambs, so to speak, the predator in with their prey, and just going, just deal with this, ladies. Like, that's completely unacceptable in my opinion. And the thing is, too, is I've seen so many actual trans women who are completely appalled by this behavior and stating that like they would never do something like this. And I think that's true. I think the trans-identified people who actually have gender dysphoria, who are actually trying to live their lives, I don't think they're the ones going in and forcing their way into women's spaces like bathrooms and restrooms and demanding that they be accepted. No questions asked. Don't care. I'm going to be naked around you. I don't really think anyone with gender dysphoria is actually going to strip down in front of other people, thus exposing themselves and making someone else uncomfortable. Like, I don't think that's what's happening. I think men are taking advantage of this. Men with autogynephilia who, are aroused by the thought of themselves as a woman, and men who also have predatory natures who now see that there's just an open door. They can just go right in. And the women are the ones who are accused of bigotry and hatefulness. I don't know about you, but I'm not ever going to go to a YMCA. No, thank you. If this is your policy, if this is what your policy allows, then I don't want to be anywhere near that. But I would love to know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit subscribe. It really does help me out, helps more people find my channel, my videos. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.